What is up, Bills Mafia? Today we are talking about the Bills' biggest draft steals of the past decade. But before we get to that, let's get to that intro.
This is PZ Music.
Welcome to the Mafia Sports Report. I am Tommy. Please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell because I always forget to tell you. Anyways, Bills Mafia, man, today we're going to be talking about the Bills' biggest draft steals of the past decade. Once again, I want to thank Bills Wire for doing this article, and we're going to go ahead and pop this up on the screen. So here are the Bills' biggest draft steals of the past decade, and let's see what they have to say. The Buffalo Bills are one of the top teams in the NFL. Of course we are. Come on, we know that. A lot of that has to do with drafting and developing their own players. The Bills have certainly done that since head coach Sean McDermott and general manager Brandon Beane joined the organization in 2017. However, ESPN doesn't think Buffalo has hit that big in terms of draft steals. The former worldwide leader named the 50 biggest steals in the draft over the past decade. None of Buffalo's selections made the cut. Only one made the ranking as an honorable mention, but did they get it wrong? Here are five of the Bills' biggest draft steals from the past decade, excluding the 2023 draft that were overlooked. First one on the board, offensive lineman Wyatt Teller. Oh, this one's tough, guys. Selected round 5, number 166 overall in the 2018 NFL Draft. The good and the bad is glaring. The Bills nailed the pick, a 5th-round selection that's now a 2-time second-team All-Pro. Of course, the bad is that all of those accolades came with the Cleveland Browns. Teller is a heck of a player, but the Bills gave up on him too fast, trading him to the Browns for 5th and 6th round picks. Beane has openly admitted he'd take a do-over here. Of course he would. That was a bad decision. One that obviously wasn't... Yeah, listen, Bobby Johnson, former offensive line coach, was not a fan of him. Clearly, he had something to do with this as well because he's the one in charge of the offensive line group. He's the one that also reports to Brandon Beane on player development. Also, Sean McDermott, also the offensive coordinator at that time, which would have been Brian Dable. They are all responsible with this. And I'm not saying Brandon Beane isn't responsible as well. He should have done better homework or not listen so much to his position coaches. But listen, they're hired for a reason, and they're going to tell him that this guy's not going to work out. Better get something, or we'll probably wind up cutting him because he's not going to make the team, or he's not going to make the lineup, or whatever. And they wound up trading him to Cleveland, and he totally took off from there. Excelled, is one of the best offensive linemen in the NFL, and you guys see it. I mean, the proof is in the pudding, man. The guy is legit, and many Bills Mafia just wants to just forget about that ever happened, that Wyatt Teller ever was in Buffalo, because it was short-lived. And I'll be honest with you, a lot of Bills Mafia liked Wyatt Teller, and we thought he had potential to be a very good offensive lineman in the NFL. And I think the Bills just gave up on him way too quick. I think Bobby Johnson just didn't do his job properly, obviously. And neither did Brian Dable, and neither did Sean McDermott. There was a lot of people responsible, for this mess up and getting rid of Wyatt Teller. And look what happened to the Bills since. They've been scrambling, playing musical chairs at offensive line. And imagine Wyatt Teller on this team today. I mean, guys, who knows how far we could have gone or how better this running game would have been, pass blocking would have been with Wyatt Teller. But it is what it is. All right, let's move on. Let's go to the second one that they got here. So their second one on the list is cornerback Dane Jackson. That is kind of surprising, but okay. Cornerback Dane Jackson, selected round 7, number 239 overall in the 2020 NFL Draft. It's more common for a 7th round pick at the NFL Draft to appear in none to only a handful of games in their career. That is true. Jackson is entering his 4th season and is battling a former first-round pick, Kaiir Elam, for a starting job. Jackson has made 22 starts, 37 games played to date, and has 3 interceptions and broke up 23 passes. Again, for a former 7th rounder, that's pretty impressive. And listen, I won't deny that either. It's a good story, 7th round pick for a guy. Listen, any player in the NFL, 7th round pick, and really honestly, 6th round, 7th round, even 5th really, to start in the NFL is impressive. You got to go show a little love there. But he had an off year last year, and I just believe that Kaiir Elam, Christian Benford right now are just better overall corners than Dane Jackson. That's why they were a first round, or at least Kaiir Elam was a first round. We'll see what Benford does. I think he goes to safety. But back on Dane Jackson, listen, I can't knock the guy. He just like Levi Wallace, and I know a lot of you guys didn't like Levi Wallace, but Levi Wallace, once again, a player that was undrafted and wound up being a starter, and you got to tip your cap to those type of players that go out there in camp and earn their job and wind up being a starter. So, yeah, I guess you could say that was kind of a draft steal considering he did wind up starting in the NFL and may still wind up being the number 2 corner. We'll see how the training camp and preseason goes, but I guess that's okay to be on this list. Okay, so let's go down to the third player on their list, and that is linebacker Matt Milano, of course. So Matt Milano selected round 5, number 163 overall in the 2017 NFL Draft. McDermott nailed the first NFL Draft he was part of in Buffalo. Okay, Nathan Peterman didn't pan out. Yes, Nathan Peterman, terrible. But Buffalo landed 3 cornerstone pieces that year. Trey White, Deion Dawkins, and Matt Milano in round 5 was insanely a good value. Yeah, Milano in round 5, unbelievable. You can probably guess that Milano was the honorable mention from ESPN. Although the term snubbed comes to mind as well. That describes much of Milano's career. Astonishingly, he only earned his first Pro Bowl honor in 2023. Let me tell you, man, Matt Milano is an absolute dog. I mean, listen, I really honestly consider him one of the best linebackers in the NFL. He is one of those guys that is just not talked about a lot in national media on how good he is on the football field. Smart player, makes tackles, a leader, and like I said, man, one can argue that Matt Milano is one of those players that is overlooked when it comes to these kind of nods like Pro Bowl, All Pro, and I just feel like Matt Milano deserves way more love than what he gets, especially outside of Buffalo. True NFL fans, true NFL analysts, they know the deal when it comes to Matt Milano. They know what kind of player he is. And yeah, that is an absolute draft steal, for the Buffalo Bills. No doubt about it. All right, let's get to the next player on their list, and that is cornerback Tyron Johnson. Yes, he is. Selected round 4, number 121 overall in the 2018 draft. When you're taken behind the likes of Josh Allen, Tremaine Edmonds, it's easy to be overlooked. Plus, Johnson plays a position that is usually not considered a full-time starting role on most NFL defenses. But it is in Buffalo. McDermott's defensive scheme calls for a nickel defender in the slot on most, if not all, occasions throughout a game. Johnson has completely made that his position since he was drafted. Yeah, man. Let me tell you guys, man. Tyron Johnson, unbelievable, man. One of the best slot corners in the NFL. The dude can do it all. He's made big plays for Buffalo when needed. Once again, another player that isn't talked about really much outside of Buffalo and the national media. Listen, man, I truly believe he is one of the best out there. That is why Brandon Beane went ahead and extended him. I believe that was back in 2021 when he got that extension on Tyron Johnson nice and early, got it out of the way. And many people were like, what? Why so early? They didn't really understand why Tyron was getting that contract at the time. But now, looking back, that was a great deal. Locking up Tyron Johnson in Buffalo because he is one of the best. And yes, that is a draft steal. Yes, by far. So let's get to the next, man. The next one here is tight end, Dawson Knox. Yeah, I guess so. Selected round 3, number 96 overall, 2019 NFL draft. Day 2 of the draft is usually a sweet spot for tight ends to be taken. They aren't always first round picks. Speaking of, even though Buffalo did take Dalton Kincaid with their latest round 1 pick, Knox was a bit of a steal. The third rounder was the 9th tight end taken in 2019, and he's a big time threat in the red zone for the Bills. That's why he was extended and still will remain a factor in the team's offense despite Kincaid's addition. And that is very true. And that is the end of that article, guys. So listen, Dawson Knox, man, he started off a little rough, and we all knew that he was a raw player. He didn't get a lot of passes thrown his way. Mississippi, Ole Miss, because they had A.J. Brown there, DK Metcalf, and he was fairly new at that position, but they saw the upside. They saw how high his ceiling was. And for a third-round pick, they were willing to roll the dice and take the gamble. And for the first couple of years, I would say it was a little slow for Dawson Knox. He had to kind of – it was one of those slow process, right? But he really caught on, man, in 2021. And he got – I believe he had 8 touchdowns in the red zone, which tied with Kelsey for the 8 touchdowns, tied with tight ends for the most touchdowns of that year. So, yeah, man, you got to give it up to Dawson Knox. Got to give it up to Brandon Beane, Sean McDermott for seeing the potential in Dawson Knox. Now, he had a little off year last year, and that really wasn't all his fault. It was a little bit, more on Ken Dorsey, Sean McDermott, but they had to use him more as a blocking tight end last year because the offensive line did such a poor job, and blocking was really bad in Buffalo last year. This year, since we improved on that level, I'm hoping that Ken Dorsey gets Dawson Knox more involved in the offense, which I believe he will, especially in the red zone where we have struggled to get points. So, yeah, man. Now, I do want to mention 2 honorable mentions. One of them you're going to be like, yeah, it's, you're just liking him because he's a, from Miami, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to say Devin Singletary, okay? And I'm going to pull up his stats. First of all, I'm going to tell you, Devin Singletary, by the way, is the 10th best running back in Buffalo Bills history. Now, Josh Allen's probably going to pass him this year. Just a heads up. But believe it or not, Devin Singletary has passed Marshawn Lynch, Kenneth Davis, decent running backs, right? We haven't had the best, we've had good running backs through Buffalo, but none of these numbers are great except for Thurman Thomas and O.J. Simpson. After that is Fred Jackson at 5,646 yards, then Joe Cribbs at 4,445, Travis Henry, 3,849, Shady McCoy at 3,814, Carlton at 3,368, Willis McGahee at 3,365, and then C.J. Spiller at 3,321, and Devin Singletary 3,151. And then if you want to know Josh Allen, he is at 3,087. He will be catching up to Devin Singletary, and these other running backs, by the way, when his career is over, Josh Allen probably will be like top 5 running back in Buffalo Bills history, which is wild, but is true. So, but you got to give, for me, listen, Devin Singletary was a 3rd round pick, okay, out of FAU. Okay, it wasn't like this big time school. It wasn't once again, 3rd round pick. And if you want to know his stats, just to throw that out there, in 2019, which is his rookie year, by the way, he never went over 200 carries, so he wasn't utilized a lot, but he had 775 yards his rookie year. Not bad for only 151 carries, guys. He averaged 4.8 that year. Or actually, no more. I think he averaged 5.1 that year. In 2020, he had 687, a little bit of a drop-off. But 2021, he had 870 yards. And in 2022, he had 819. So, yes, I'm sorry. So, in 2019, he had 5.1 average. He actually was tied with, I believe, Derrick Henry for the average per run. And then 2020, he averaged 4.4. 2021, he averaged 4.6. 2022, he averaged 4.6. His career average is 4.7. Guys, once again, I know a lot of you guys weren't a big fan of Devin Singletary, but once again, 3rd round pick, he put up pretty decent numbers for a guy that really wasn't given the rock a lot, right? Very minimal attempts. And you have to give him a little bit of love for what he did in Buffalo. And plus, he was a great teammate, man. But overall stats, not bad for a guy that was on a team that was pass heavy. You gotta be real here. Look at the running backs on that list that I mentioned. We were a run heavy team when we had like Marshawn Lynch. We ran the ball a lot more. Willis McGahee, CJ Spiller, right? We ran way more. Shady McCoy. So I'm just throwing that out there. You guys can say what you want, but I have one more. And that player is Tyler Bass. So Tyler Bass, and I wish, let me see here, was drafted in 2020, and he was a 6th round pick. And let me tell you something right now. PFF has Tyler Bass as the number 1 all-time kicker in Buffalo. I don't think so right now. Not yet. I still think I want to say that's Steve Christie right now. I believe Steve Christie is a step up, from Tyler Bass as of now. But I think Tyler Bass, who just got extended, by the way, can eventually be the all-time leader, all-time scorer in Buffalo when his career is said and done. Also, not honorable mention, but another guy that was a really good kicker, Dan Carpenter, came here and was an excellent kicker for the Buffalo Bills. But listen, if you want to talk draft steal, and why wouldn't you not name one of the best kickers in the NFL right now, and Tyler Bass, as a draft steal? He was a 6th round pick. I think he's a draft steal. So what do you guys think, man? I want your comments below. And once again, Bills Mafia, I love you. And as always, go Bills. I am out of here. Peace.